Welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur, the podcast for mums with an online business who are ready to take back their time, home, business, and self so they can restore the balance and thrive, both at home and at work, without feeling like they have to choose between the two. I'm your host, Sarah Dew, life and biz coach for mompreneurs. I'm also a mum, stepmom, wife, introvert, breast cancer survivor, and your mentor for making a change for the better. I've learned how to go from surviving to thriving and unapologetically create a business I love and the life I want for me and my family without worrying about what other people think. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Because being an unapologetic mompreneur doesn't mean that we're selfish or that we don't care about others. It simply means that we are not afraid to show up as our true, authentic selves, to step into our purpose, do what we know is right for ourselves and the ones we love, and take the steps we need to take to make our dream life and business a reality. Join me each week where I'll be sharing all of my best tips and strategies, plus the occasional dose of tough but gentle love to help you feel empowered, motivated, and confident to take action so that you can become the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. So, are you ready to unapologetically create a business and life you love? Let's do this. Hey there, and welcome to episode 20 of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast. This episode is the third and final episode of a mini series that I have been doing over the last few weeks, all about how to set yourself up for goal-crushing success in 2024, or really any time that you are wanting to work on your goals, or you're feeling like that you are stuck in the planning stages of goal setting and you're finding it hard to take action. This mini series gives you everything you need to set yourself up for goal-crushing success and to go from goal setter to goal getter and crush your goals like a pro and hit that finishing line every single time without falling at the last hurdle. As a certified goal success coach and someone who is super passionate and addicted to goal setting, to goal planning and accomplishing her goals, I know exactly what it takes to make goals happen, for us to hit that finish line and for us to see our goals through and to not just be stuck in that planning stages. But I also know what the most common obstacles are and the most common struggles that we have that I see crop up time and time again, both with myself when I'm working on my own goals, but also the ones that come up when I'm working with my clients. Both when we're working one-on-one in the 12-week program that I have, and also in the goal setter to goal getter power hours, I see the same struggles and obstacles come up time and time again. And that's what I've been wanting to share with you these past 3 episodes, is how to set yourself up for goal crushing success and how to overcome and push past those hurdles when they come up so that we can keep going and hit that finish line and see the success that we crave, desire, and know we are worthy of achieving. So if you haven't listened to the other 2 episodes yet, I highly recommend you going and doing those first before you dive into this one, because this is the one that gives you the final piece of the puzzle and helps you wrap everything up and gives you the full package. But you definitely want to go and listen and check out those first 2 episodes first, because they lay the groundwork. They give you the strategy for setting up a goal planning strategy and a way of managing your business that fits in around with your family as a mompreneur and the needs of your families, and gives you the strategy to help you actually map out your goals and make sure that they are the right goals for you and that they are the goals that are helping you and going to get you to where you want to be. You'll find the links to those in the show notes, but look out for episode 18, which is the one that I share the game-changing strategy that I use to plan and map and manage my goals and my business that fits seamlessly around my family so that I am able and free to take every single school holiday off with my boys, 100% guilt-free and with no disruption to my business. And so if you find that all of the traditional goal setting strategies like quarterly planning, quarterly setting, 90-day years, and all of the other strategies that you may have tried don't work for you as a mompreneur, guess what? It's not your fault. There is a really good reason why these don't work for us mompreneurs. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but there is a very good reason why they don't work for us. And I have discovered and been trying and testing and road testing this past year something totally different. And it has been absolutely game changing. And that is what I share in episode 18. So go and give that one a listen to find out what that strategy is. And then tune in to episode 19, where I share my favorite 4-part framework that will help you map out your goals, will help you decide on what your goal is, will help you to validate and make sure that it is the right goal. It will help you figure out that baseline of where you are now to where you want to be so that you can map out the steps to actually make it happen and crush that goal. So that's episodes 18 and 19. Today, episode 20, I am sharing with you the most common obstacles and excuses that tend to raise their head when we are working on our goals, how to recognize when they are cropping up, and what to do about them so that we can push past them and keep going. Because here's the thing. Plans and strategies are great, and we definitely need those when it comes to working on our goals. Because if we fail to plan, we can plan to fail, and we need something and a framework and something there that we can use and follow so that when we are sitting down at our computers every single morning, every single day, whatever time you're working on your business, when we are sitting to and opening up our laptops and want to start diving into our goals, if we don't have those plans, if we don't have those strategies, we do not know what we are needing to work on. And without that plan, that's when we start spinning in circles and going off and doing other things, and then get frustrated and we just want to throw it in the towel. So we need those plans and strategies. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. If we are going to accomplish our goals, we need to take care of something else too. And that's our mindset. Or more specifically, it is the excuses that hold us back. Because if we don't have the right mindset when we're working on our goals, if we let those voices that are in our heads playing out those excuses whenever we have a tough time, whenever we have a day that we don't feel like it, whenever we're not really sure how to do the steps, if we can't work out, or we're feeling maybe like we don't have all of the information yet, or we've hit a stumbling block because it's something we don't really know how to do, if we let those excuses play out in our head, they will stop us in our tracks. They will stop us from taking action. They can cause us to procrastinate. They can cause us to go off and do something else that makes us feel like we are busy, but actually they're not tasks that are making us move the needle forward. We're just hiding because those excuses are holding us back and we don't know how to get past them. And sometimes we don't even know that that is what's happening. We're going off and doing something else, or we've seen the next new shiny object, the next new secret that is going to solve everything for us. And we go and jump on that instead of pushing through on the goal that we know is right for us, because we haven't even realized that one of those excuses is subconsciously chipping away and that monkey mindset is holding us back. And if we let them, they will derail our progress. They will stop us. And they are the excuses that can cause us to just go, nope, I'm not doing that. And we throw in the towel, even if we know that that is a goal that is really going to help us get to where we want to be. So what are the most common excuses, and how do we recognize they're coming, and how do we nip them in the bud so that we can keep going, so that we don't fall off the wagon, and so that they don't derail our progress? Here are the 5 most common excuses that I see crop up time and time again, both for myself when I'm working on my goals. These regularly raise their head for me. And they also regularly raise their head for my clients when I'm working with them one-on-one, both in my 12-week program And also when I'm working one-on-one with them in my goal setter to goal getter power hours, these excuses crop up time and time again. Because when we dive into the roadblocks that are holding them back on taking steps and action, it's usually where these mindsets and these obstacles and these excuses crop up. And they are the ones that I see crop up all the time, over and over again. But when you know what they are and you can see them raising their head, you can grab onto them and you can hit them at the pass and you can nip them in the bud so that you can move forward. So what are they? Excuse number one is that it's too hard or I don't know how. Oh my goodness. This probably was one of the biggest excuses that used to hold me back so much. And sometimes it still does, but now I recognize it. And now I know that it tends to be a trait for me that raises its head when something gets too hard or something that I don't know how to do it, particularly in the early days of my business. I would just ignore it in the hope that it would go away. I would put it off. I would just like, yeah, that's too overwhelming. I don't know how to do it. It's way too hard. I don't have time to figure that out right now. There's no way I can accomplish that goal because it's just too hard and I don't know how. And so I would ignore it. I would hope that it went away and that it would resolve itself and it wouldn't be a problem after all. But guess what? It didn't. Of course it didn't, because the thing that we need to figure out most, the thing that we need to work on and push past and accomplish is usually the thing that is going to propel us forward the most. That one thing that's holding us back where we're thinking it's too hard, I don't know how to do it, is the one thing that is going to help us accomplish our goal. And it's crazy. Whether it's something like figuring out how to set up your WordPress for your website or how to finally master all of the bells and whistles that go on a reel on Instagram and, whatever it might be. For me, one of the biggest things that put me off for years and years and years in doing my podcast was that all the tech was too hard. I had no clue how I was going to get started on recording my podcast, on editing it, on putting it out there on a platform where people could actually listen to it. I was like, nope, too hard. Have not got a clue how to do it. Not going to happen. But of course, that was the one thing that I needed to suss and get over in order to make this podcast happen. So how do you stop this excuse from derailing your progress? By reminding yourself that you cannot know everything about everything. It's just not possible. So instead, ask yourself, what can you do to get educated and learn what you need to learn in order for you to get the job done? Is there a tutorial you can follow? Is there someone that you know has already done it that can show you how to do it? Is there a course that you can take? What can you do to get educated to push past so that when that it's too hard, I don't know how, crops up and makes you want to throw in the towel, you can push past that. Have a look and see what you can do to get over it. Do something and give yourself permission when working on your goal to allow time for you to get educated on whatever it is that you need to learn. My only caveat for that is don't allow yourself to spend so long on the learning stage and being stuck going from course to course and YouTube video to YouTube video that you never take action. And I'm talking from experience here. I am a massive course junkie and I would spend all the time learning all the things, but never implementing anything. So if you are coming up with this one and this raises its head for you, where you feel like it's too hard and I don't know how, ask yourself how you can find out and get educated so that you can get that job done and move on to the next step. If that scares you, here's an affirmation for you for pushing past the process. Next time it raises its head, tell yourself it's okay if I don't know how to do something because I'm resourceful and I will always be able to find something or someone to help me. Go write that down, and next time this one raises its head for you, read that to yourself out loud and then ask yourself what you can do to get educated on it so that you can keep going. Excuse number two is it will take too long. And I get it because the majority of the goals that we want to achieve are not going to be accomplished overnight. Sometimes it can take weeks or even months for us to hit that finish line. And when that is the case, it can be super hard for us to stay motivated, especially if it takes weeks or months for us to do the work before we can actually start seeing any results. I mean, you know what it's like when we decide that we want to lose weight or that we join the gym. That's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to see those results overnight. When we want to save for a holiday or something big in our lives, like a deposit for a house, it can feel like it's going to take too long because we know that we're not going to get that money overnight. We're not going to save all of the funds that we want to save overnight. It's going to take weeks and months and maybe even years for us to get to where we want to be. And that can put us off. But here's the thing, and it's a bit of a kick in the pants thing that sometimes I used to have to give myself, and sometimes I still do have to give myself a kick up the backside with this one. When we're thinking that it's going to take too long, guess what? The time is going to pass anyway. So the question is, do you still want to be where you are now in 6 months' time? Do you still want to be where you are in a year's time? Or do you want to have accomplished your goal and be basking in the joy of your accomplishments? Because if the answer is yes to that, then we just have to knuckle down and get on with it. We just have to do the work because do you know what? That time is going to pass anyway. And going back to the podcast example for me, I knew having put off my podcast for the best part of 4 years, probably because of the majority of the excuses that I'm sharing with you in this episode, I knew that in reality last year, when I asked myself, right, this is still on my wish list. This is still a goal I want to accomplish. Why have I not done it yet? It's now or never. In a year's time, am I still going to want to have a podcast if I don't do it now? And I knew that the answer was yes. So I knew that I had to put my big girl pants on or my big girl thong because I don't do pants. I had to pull up my pants and I had to say, right, come on, Sarah, I want to accomplish this. I know it's going to take time, but I also know that in a year's time, if I have not got my podcast out there, I'm still going to be kicking my butt over it and still feel blue over it because I know it's a goal I want to accomplish. So if that raises its head for you and you start feeling like it's going to take too long, ask yourself, do you still want to accomplish it? And do you want to be where you are now in 6 months' time, or do you want to be celebrating that you've crushed that goal? Because that time is going to pass anyway. So do you want to hit that time in the future knowing that you've crushed it, or still beating yourself up and feeling regret that you haven't done it yet? I know what one it was for me. Number three is it's too risky. Oh man, this one's tripped me up so many times as well. The fear of failure, the fear of the what ifs, the fear of falling flat on my face, of looking like a muppet, people going, I told you so, and all those thoughts always cropped up for me in the initial stages of looking at my goals and wanting to take action. And I cannot tell you how much those thought processes held me back in starting my business in at least the first 3, probably 4 years of my business. And I know that if I had learned how to nip this one in the bud a lot earlier, I probably would have been a lot further on in my business far sooner than the time it has taken me. But it's all been a learning curve. And as a result of battling with this one, I've learned how to push past it. And I can share that with you now too, so that if it is something that you struggle with, one, I want you to know that you're not alone. We all go through this one. And two, you can push past it. And we are always going to feel like, and this thought and fear is always going to come up for us that it's too risky because it is our own way of keeping us safe. It's our mind's way of keeping us safe. Because if something's risky, why on earth would we do it? Surely it's much easier to stay where it's safe and we are knowing what we're doing. Even if the status quo is not really where we want to be, the fact of stepping out into the unknown and the what ifs, our minds subconsciously go, nah, no, thank you. I am not doing that. Why would I do that? That's too risky. This is far safer. I might not like it much right now, but it's safer. I'm not doing that. No, thank you. But once we know that that excuse and that obstacle of it being too risky is down to a fear of some kind, the most common being fear of failure or fear of success, being fear of being visible, which totally been there too. That has been a massive thing that has held me back in my business for years. And I've got a podcast episode coming up in the coming weeks and months where I'm sharing some of the strategies that have helped me push past my fear of being visible so that I can show up as my true authentic self, so that I can show up as me with warts and quirks and all, so that I can actually put myself out there and grow my business. So I know what it's like to struggle with that, but that is a super common risk factor that tends to come up for us as a fear or obstacle or mindset or excuse that holds us back of being judged or a fear of messing up and falling flat on our face. That's usually why the it's too risky excuse pops up. But unless the thing we're about to do really is risky, like going rock climbing without having a harness on, or you stand to get injured or lose a lot of money, we can always counteract this one by asking ourselves, what is the worst that can happen? Does it really matter what other people think? Now, my initial response to this a few years back was a sphincter moment of, well, yeah, it does. I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to fall flat on my face. I don't want to mess up. But the thing is, if it doesn't work or things don't quite go to plan, the bottom line is we'll have learned something from the experience and we can apply that going forward. Yes, it might seem risky, but if we don't try it, we don't know. And if it doesn't go to plan, then we learn what works and what doesn't work, and we can take that moving forward. And also, we can learn that that's not the right way to do it. Maybe this is a better way. We can also learn that actually, maybe it doesn't float our boat after all, and we don't want to work on it. And it gives us the permission to let it go and move on. There are so many lessons to be learned from that failure side of things and the what ifs and the worst can happen. And it's probably something that I'll do as another future episode as well. But in the meantime, if you find that this thing about it's too risky is coming up as an excuse for you or an obstacle standing in your way, just tell yourself that if it doesn't work, you'll learn something from it and it's okay. And what is the worst that can happen? Another great way of pushing past this one is something that one of my dear friends and accountability buddies shared with me in one of our accountability calls is that she considers things now when she's doing stuff and she finds it a little bit too risky or scary or fear of the unknown, is that it's just an experiment. Oh my word, this was such a light bulb moment for me that I completely stole it and use it to my own advantage now. That takes away that fear of what is the worst that can happen. Because if I'm just treating it as an experiment, if I'm not attaching an outcome to it, if I'm just doing I'm going to go out there, I'm going to see what happens, doesn't matter whether it works or not, I'll have learned something, I'll figure out whether I even like it. And if it doesn't work, I just won't do it again. And you know what? That is so freeing because we're not attaching an expectation or an outcome to it. That actually removes the fear and the excuse of it being risky because we're just going and having fun. And it really does change everything. So if you are someone that struggles with taking risks or you find that this one crops up for you, ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Treat it as an experiment where you're just going and having fun without an expectation or an outcome attached to it. And if you find it hard to get started, one of my favorite ways of diving into this one and counteracting this one is by practicing by starting small, of taking little risks every single day and growing up from there. Do one small thing a day that is a little bit risky and puts you outside of your comfort zone and build up from there. And then when you need to take bigger risks, you will feel more confident to do so. Have a look at all the different things that you do every single day and all of the little things that give you that moment and that butterfly moment and that sphincter moment, and ask yourself what freaks you out a little bit in your general day-to-day. Have a go at doing some of those things. Give yourself permission to play and have fun with it. and flex that risky muscle, flex that experimenting muscle, flex that what's that worst that can happen muscle. And you sort of find over time, you will build a resilience to that excuse of it's too risky. And you'll find yourself quite naturally just going, yeah, so what? But I'm going to have a go anyway. And you're just going to put yourself out there and see what happens. And it is amazing. The feeling when you push past that one is extremely liberating. Excuse number 4 is I don't have time. Now, this falls back very closely in line with it'll take too long. But just like that one of, well, the time is going to pass anyway, I have a question for you. If you feel like you don't have the time, are you making your goals a priority? Because here's the thing, we always have time for the things that we make time for. How often do you make time to sit and watch that Netflix episode? How often do you make time to sit and scroll on your phone and look through Facebook? How often do you find the time to go off and do other things when you know really you could probably be spending that time more wisely, that you could be spending that time doing other things? I know I spend way too much time in my downtime sitting on PlayStation with my youngest playing Crash Bandicoot together because that is my chill out time. And that's great because we all need that wind down time and that chill out time. And I love playing that game with him. I can easily lose 3 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday playing that because I'm determined to get to that end of the level and get that gem and move on to the next one. Or I'm determined to beat that time trial and get the next relic. But if I'm not careful, I could lose 3 hours playing that darn thing. And so if I'm thinking at any point, I don't have time to work on this, I know it's time for me to take stock of how I'm actually spending my time. So if you find that this excuse raises its head for you, ask yourself if you are making your goals a priority. And if you're not, why aren't you? Are you hiding? Are you getting distracted by something else? And how are you truly spending your time? Where are your time sucks? Where are you finding that you've got pockets of time that you could use, but actually you're being distracted doing other things? And how can you claw some of that back so that you actually do have time to work on your goals? Now, I have 2 strategies you can use to help you do this. The first is to spend a few days or a couple of weeks actually tracking your time, especially in your working hours when you're working on your business. Track how you're working and spending your time and see where your time is going. And then you can identify those pockets of time where you're being distracted or how pockets where you could better spend your time. And then the second one is to actually give your goals the attention they deserve and make them a priority by setting aside the first hour of your workday each day. Not only does that help you make you feel like you are accomplished because you've actually ticked something off and you've taken another step closer to your goal, but it motivates you to keep going for the rest of the day as well. Now, if you find that the first hour of your day isn't your best hour, listen to your body and ask yourself when your most productive hours of your day are, and use that time to be the time that you work on your goal. Because for me, I know, and I've tried, sometimes I can work that first hour, other times I can't. And I know that my most productive time is actually in the afternoon. I tend to faff around in the morning, but after lunch, in those couple of hours before I go and get Harrison from school, I am my most productive. So I know that that is the time where I need to set my goal time, that is the time where I work on the goals that I need to accomplish that day and week. Do that, and then it will not only make you feel accomplished, but it will motivate you to keep going for the rest of the day. And then finally, the most common excuse, number 5, that I see crop up time and time again with me and everybody that I work with and the members of my Facebook community, all of my subscribers, is that it's just too overwhelming. And I get it. When we're mapping out our goals and we're thinking about that end goal, but then we have that massive gap between us of like trying to cross one mountain to another or cross from one side of the river to the other. How on earth are we going to get there? If we don't know what the steps are or the order we need to do them, or there's just too many, it can be so overwhelming. And that is enough to make us want to throw in the towel and just go, nope, and go and do something else. If you find that you get overwhelmed by your goals, the way to stop this and break it down and head it off at the pass is to break it down into baby steps or mini goals so that you can track your progress and experience quick wins that not only show that you're on the right track and motivate you to keep going, but takes away that overwhelm. Another way of pushing past this one is to know that you don't need to know all of the steps to get started. Simply ask yourself what the first 2 or 3 steps are that you should be and can be working on right now, and focus on just those. And quite often, once we start diving into them, the next steps unfold as we go along anyway. By the time you've completed them, you'll more than likely not know exactly what you need to do next. And sometimes we can't actually figure out what we need to do next until we've uncovered and completed the task that we need to do before that. So if you find that those steps are overwhelming, break them down into the steps that you can and those mini milestones, but also free yourself from that, I must know everything, I must know all of the steps, and just ask yourself what the first 2 or 3 steps should be. Focus on those and trust that the next steps will reveal themselves when the time is right. Another great way of breaking your goals down when they're too overwhelming is to have that end goal as your ideal goal, that final destination, that goal where you know, yep, I've achieved it, and then break it down into a midterm goal. What of that end-term goal would be a good indicator for you about halfway through where you know that you are on the right path. Aim for that as your milestone goal, your next step goal, so that when you've accomplished that, you can go, yep, I've done that. I'm on the right track. I am on my way. I am heading in the right direction towards accomplishing my big, big goal. When you've identified that mid goal, then ask yourself, what is my quick win goal? What is that first step goal that I can take right now, no matter how small, to give me that quick win, to help me take that first step, to get motivated, to dive in and start taking action? And that can really help break away that overwhelm and break it down so that that excuse, you can kick that excuse to the curb and start taking action. Just know that you don't need to know all of the steps to get started. Ask yourself what the first 2 or 3 are and trust that they will unfold. So there we go. Those are the most common excuses that I see crop up time and time again. It's too hard. I don't know how. It'll take too long. It's too risky. I don't have the time, and it's too overwhelming. If you find that these excuses crop up for you when you are working on your goals, use the strategies I've shared today to help you cut them off at the pass so that you can keep going and hit that finish line. When the it's too hard comes up for you, tell yourself and remind yourself with that affirmation of it's okay if I don't know how to do something, because I am resourceful and I will always be able to find something or someone to help me. And then ask yourself how you can get educated on it, or who you can ask to help you find the answers and keep going. With the excuse of it'll take too long, just remind yourself that that time is going to pass anyway. And ask yourself, when that time has passed, do I still want to have accomplished that goal? And if the answer is yes, then just keep going. With it's too risky, ask yourself what is the worst that can happen. Treat it as an experiment. Don't attach an outcome or an expectation to it, and set yourself off telling yourself that you are just having fun and you are just going to see what happens. And if you struggle with the riskiness of it, practice by starting small. Do one small thing a day that is a little risky, that's going to help you flex that muscle so that you can build up that resilience and keep going. If you don't have the time and you find that excuse cropping up, ask yourself if you are making your goals a priority. Check in on how you are spending your time, and ask yourself, either you set aside the first hour of the day to work on your goal so that you can take that next step, or ask yourself when your highest motivation point is during the day, your highest productivity level is during the day, and make that the time that you work on your goals. And then finally, that it's too overwhelming. If you find that your goals are too overwhelming, it's time to take a step back, to break them down into mini goals and baby steps, and know that you only need to know the first 2 or 3 steps so that you can dive in and take action. Trust that the rest of the steps will reveal themselves when you are ready. That's it for today and for this mini series. I hope that it has helped you set yourself up for goal crushing success in 2024 and any time that you really just feel like you're stuck in the planning stages of goal crushing and goal setting, and use them so that they can help you go from goal setter to goal getter and crush your goals. If you're not already, subscribe to this podcast and make sure you do so that you can come back and listen to these anytime you like. And if goal setting is really something that you do struggle with, or taking action or following through or keeping the momentum going, come and sign up for one of my unapologetic goal setter to goal getter power hours. And in just 60 minutes, I will help you go through all of the strategies that we have shared in these past few episodes and help you walk away with a plan so that you can leave as a fired up action taker and start diving in and crushing those goals and hit that finish line without falling at the last hurdle. You have got this, mama. Here is to your goal crushing success, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me for another installment of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to leave me a rating and a review so that other mompreneurs can find this podcast too. Here's to unapologetically becoming the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.